Well, we finally have Dr Rakish Rana here today. And we've been talking about this for a while, Rakish, right?
Yeah, it has been actually. And thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to come over here. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. I woke up this morning and as happens whenever there's a podcasting day, your mind plays tricks on you, right? I wasn't very well over the weekend, as I told you, and I woke up this morning thinking, no, I'm not well enough. But you had told me, call me first thing, let me know so I know what time to head off. Yeah. So about 8 o'clock, I had a word with myself and said, no, we've been talking about this for too long. Let's make it happen. I'm really pleased we did.
It's so important, the self-talk. We can talk ourselves in all sorts. I know if I'm having an absolutely rubbish day, if I'm on a crap day and I've got a coaching session that evening, I'll be sitting there during the day thinking, do you know what, I can't do it. Shall I cancel? Shall I postpone? But inevitably, I just let the day play out. And I might still be feeling quite tired, but that coaching session starts and I'm alive.
Yeah.
And all I think to myself is, I'm so glad I did this, because actually this is what I needed. And when you said this morning, let's do this, I thought, because once you're in it and you're doing it, it's like exercise, isn't it? Everybody hates exercising, but once you're doing it,
absolutely,
you feel great, and you feel great afterwards as well.
Absolutely right. Yeah, I think you're right. We've covered it in previous podcasts about a little book that I wrote for Ollie, and it was his 21st birthday, and over a year I came up with all of these kind of great suggestions for Ollie as he was kind of growing up and becoming a man, and some of the advice that I was trying to give him. And the one bit that really stuck with me is that the progress that we all make is beyond our comfort zones, right? And it's only when we leave our comfort zones that we get to really make the big progress. And I think that the podcasting for me over many years, I was avoiding being on camera. I was avoiding any kind of podcasting or interviews for 20 years.
Wow.
And I would always get somebody else to go in front of the camera. I would always get somebody else to be that person. And I just had this one day, I just woke up and thought, no more. I'm going to do this now. What do you think made you switch? I think that I just had this realisation that if I wanted to, I was treading water for so long that I believe that I got to that point of thinking that I wanted to make massive progress. Okay. And the only way I was going to bring around massive progress was making change in myself.
Oh, it's so important. I mean, I think we touched upon it briefly earlier when we were having a chat about how I want to make changes in my life, but I know that I've got to be doing things differently. Hence the reason to, do my own YouTube channel, grow that. It's doing something different. I can't remember who did the quote, but if you do keep doing the same thing over and over again, you can't expect change. You need to be changing it up. So, and it isn't just change for change's sake. It is going to be something new. It's going to be something different. You've got to be learning something new from it. It's not something that you've always done before. So, and as you know, that any time you start any kind of new venture, it will take on its life of its own. You don't know where it's going to go. All you can be is showing up every day, putting that action in every day, and things will happen.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of Anthony Robbins. I've been to a few of his seminars, and I think you know Anthony Robbins as well, right? And one famous comment that he's made in the past is continue doing what you've always done and you'll get what you've always got. And it's just sometimes I think in life it just happens to us where we think, okay, I'm having some bad luck, or I'm in a bad relationship, or financially I'm not in a good place, and it takes for you to just have a word with yourself and say, okay, I'm willing to make some fundamental changes in my life now.
Doesn't it surprise you though that so many people are actually comfortable with that though, that actually are quite happy to exist that kind of a life? Where
is it quite happy though, or is it that people get comfortable feeling? It's like, I've often talked about it, depressed people, it's not that they don't want to stop feeling depressed, but the feeling of feeling depressed is a feeling that they know.
It's comfort. Also, to change requires energy, and they don't have the energy to do that.
Yes.
And more often than not, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Change requires energy. You know, Newton's laws and everything. You've got to put energy in for something to move, and that's including us.
Yeah.
And more often than not, especially when I'm working with my clients, I say to them, if you look around, most people probably live below average lives. You know, they're just living.
Yeah,
you know,
existing.
They're not existing. They're not thriving for greatness or anything, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's a lot of people that want more out of life, and they're the ones I think that can sometimes sit there and sometimes don't know how to start, don't have the motivation, don't have the energy, because they've gotten comfortable.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about, well, actually, how do you like that fire up them? How do you get them to change? Hence the reason to ask you that question. What was that switch that made you decide? And sometimes it is, I've had enough.
Yeah.
Other times it's people, when you have conversations with people, it's the people that you hang out with. You know, it is so key that the environment you're in, the environment you're around will mould the direction you want to put your life in.
Yeah, very good. It was funny, we were talking this morning over a bite to eat, weren't we? And we mentioned that we both met Jay Shetty at the same time. I thought I'd mention him because I know that he obviously will listen into the podcast and he will learn a lot. So we both met him through Exclusively, and he came along to one of the events here, actually. We're going to be doing another one this evening, but he came along with his wife, and he ended up doing some public speaking training for us and our staff. But I think at a similar time, you started your journey as a coach.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I've seen you make some huge progress over the last month or so with your YouTube channel, trying to develop it, take it up a gear.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying watching your progress. It's amazing.
And again, it's come from, you know, people have been saying to me for years, I would say, oh, Rakish, you need to be doing video, you need to be doing this, you need to be writing a book, you need to be doing podcasts. It was never a case of I'm never going to do it. The time always had to be right. And sometimes you say, well, the time's never right, you need to jump in with it. But I guess I've always been risk adverse. Right. but also I know myself as well. If I'm going to do something, I want to do it well. But, you know, we do learn from our failures, so maybe I should have done it earlier. Yeah. But I'm in a place now where I'm happy. And this is the most important thing. You know, I strive for success, but what is success? You know, if I'm beating myself up thinking, oh, why have I not done this? Oh, I wish I'd done sooner, or you know, all these regrets, then fair enough. But I don't have any regrets. You know, people will always say, oh, you've always got a smile on your face, because that's because I'm genuinely happy. I have my life is filled with moments of joy. Believe me, I still have lots of crap to deal with, but it's how I look at things. And do you know what? I'm growing this YouTube channel because it was the time I wanted to do it, because there was a reason behind it. You know, there's a direction I want to take my life, and therefore YouTube's a vehicle. Yeah. So brilliant. For me, I don't do things just for the sake of it. There's always a purpose and there's a strategy behind it, and the time was right.
Yeah. You're really, really good at what you do, and I know that a lot of people that have had the luck of meeting you and spending time with you always come out of a conversation feeling better than they went in. So
that's definitely the intention. I always say, look, if you're going to spend time with somebody, you know, just never leave them feeling sad. Yeah, yeah. No. you know, touch wood. You know, people always say they always feel a bit more energized and motivated after having
a great job.
Chatted with
me.
Thank you.
So, you know, I think that we've all been through our ups and downs. I know you're mostly a very happy kind of guy, but we've all been through our ups and downs, and you know, some of us, you know, wake up in the morning feeling like we can't get out of bed, and some of us feel less than motivated. Some of us feel utterly depressed and you know, full of anxiety. Yeah. What I wanted to try and cover today at some point was if you've got any sort of magic pointers for people that literally feel like they can't get out of bed or haven't got the motivation to make the progress they need to make.
Of course.
Can you give us a couple of wise words of wisdom?
I'm not going to go, you know, I'm not a trained therapist. I'm not going to go down the therapy route of why there might be underlying mental health conditions with people. But, you know, if somebody's, I always say this, as long as somebody's future focused, as long as they have that determination that they want to achieve more in life, that's where I then help. And I guess the guidance there comes about is to using typical strategies of, like, first of all, understanding what is it they actually want. You know, you could be sitting there not feeling very happy, feeling a little anxious, But if in your mind you know that you want to achieve more in life, the first thing I'd be asking, what is it that you want? They may not know. But okay, if you don't know, what kind of feeling do you want? At least, if you don't, if you can't imagine it materialistically or you can't visualize it, what's the feeling that you want to have? Have you ever felt that feeling before in your life? So it may be that actually they used to do something maybe 10, 15 years ago that they want to do again, but they've forgotten about it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about assessment. And it's really understanding yourself first. So we're so clouded right now with external inputs.
Right.
Well, what I mean by that is social media, the news, conversations. We never really switch off anymore. There's so much deluge of information coming. We can't really understand what's going on. So sometimes it is taking that time out just to slow down and figure out what is it that you want in life. And I think once you know what you want in life, it's about then putting a plan in place. And I always say that the first thing you need to be able to do is just take some sort of action.
Yeah.
I think action is key with anything. Yeah. Once you've obtained action, it's about consistency then.
Yeah.
I'll just equate it back to myself. I've got this idea that I want to have a successful YouTube channel. That's not going to happen on its own. I could have sat there twiddling my thumbs. I haven't got this. I haven't got the right camera equipment. I don't know what to say, all this blah, blah, blah. Make up all sorts of excuses. But actually that first piece of action I took was, do you know what? I'm just going to write something that somebody might be interested to hear about. I didn't think about where I was going to film it. I didn't think about how I was going to film it or who was going to edit it or anything. I broke it down into the smallest piece, an idea. What is it that I want to talk about? Let me write it. Once I had a script, that gave me the motivation to then think, oh, okay, I've got a script here. Oh, I'm getting a little bit excited.
Yeah.
And once I had that initial excitement, I used that to fuel, okay, so where am I going to film it? Who can I ask for some help? Then it's about collaborations. It's who can help me. Yeah. So, and that's where it starts. It starts with that very small piece of action at the beginning. Doing it, seeing what comes out of that action. It's normally a reward, and it's that sensation we get to then keep moving forward.
Yeah, brilliant. And I mentioned Anthony Robbins before. I sat one of his CD programs, Get the Edge, Personal Power, after going on to one of his seminars, and found it really rewarding. And one thing that he says very early on is, I want you to this morning, so it was after an hour long audio book, I want you to do 3 things this morning that you've been putting off. I don't care how small they are. I just want you to do 3 things you've been putting off. And I think that was a fabulous bit of advice because it kind of gets you on the track, right?
Of course. And that's why I say it just needs to be something small. It doesn't need to be anything huge. And too often, our goals overwhelm us. And because they do, we don't take any action. But the important thing is breaking it down. It's like Tony Robbins says, what's the 3 smallest things that you can do to take action? But, that's a whole different topic about self-help gurus. I won't go down.
Yeah.
I was going to say I haven't always got positive things to say about those. But you're right. It is breaking it down into the smallest piece of action, and that's key.
Yeah.
It's action, but small enough that it's manageable. And, you read books like Atomic Habits by James Clear. He refers to the 2-minute rule. When you're starting to create new habits, do something that's actually going to take you less than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Because if it's something's going to take you ages, you're probably not going to do it. Yeah. But if an action's going to take you less than 2 minutes, you probably will.
It's interesting what you say about sort of these self-help gurus and things. And I've had sort of lots of coaches over the time and gone to see different people for different things. And I've gone to sort of meditation coaches and I've gone to NLP practitioners and they've all got their way of doing things, right? And I think there's room for a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Robbins is very kind of, go get it. And whereas my meditation coach is all about sitting in Zen and relaxing. But if you sit too long in Zen and relaxing, somebody's going to come and take your furniture away, right?
And there's no action happening either. However, what I'll have against them is that I think they're very good because the message is there, okay? But we all know that we want sustained change, we need that sustained pressure. There's many people that attend these weekend camps, functions, events and everything, come out pumped, ready to take on the world. However, I don't know what the official stats are, but I'd bet high percentage in the 80s within a month of attending have gone back to their old ways of doing things.
Completely. I actually think that the CD program that he recommends after the event, there was a statistic of something like 8 out of 10 people didn't even open it.
Oh yeah, but here's the other thing. But here's the bit I don't like. How many of you were offered 50% off if you would buy it now?
Yeah, sure.
See, this is what I don't like.
Yeah.
I got into coaching because I genuinely love helping people.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this before. I coach a lot for free. I have coaching conversations with many people. For me, the coaching industry has become a money-making thing. Okay, everybody's entitled to run a business, but sometimes I do think that it just needs to be a lot more transparent than it is.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And you've got to fundamentally care. And I know that you do fundamentally care about people.
Yeah.
And that's why hopefully you're on today, because I wanted to give you a platform to be able to kind of talk about
I
what
appreciate
it is that you do.
I mean, look, I'm not adverse to making money, of course. I mean, that's the reason you get into it. But I don't go down the avenues, or so far I haven't chosen to. I'm not saying never say never, but, I'm not going down those avenues that I'm doing it for. Actually, the primary reason is to earn a profit to do this. Yeah. Admittedly, my wife would probably think differently. But, my first and foremost, well, actually, how's this going to help this individual?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or me,
right.
Yeah. Coaching is a two-way street. I'm learning as much from my clients as I learn from them.
Yeah. And some of the people that I've kind of listened to and learnt from will give you kind of snippets, and that's what I like doing, and that's why I like listening to different folk on the subject of mental well-being and about progress. And I like getting up and moving in the morning. I think it's really, really important because again, I'm trying to kind of imagine folk listening in and thinking, come on, give me some snippets but getting moving quickly is a real...
Getting moving quickly to what purpose? Here's the thing, and this is why I don't like a lot of the stuff that social media says. It says, do this, but they don't tell you how to do it.
Yeah.
And this is where it's key that if you've got an intention of getting up and just moving, actually, when you say moving, just getting up and going for a walk,
totally.
Well, actually, how can you make that easy for yourself? Because guess what? When you wake up in the morning, 90% of people just want to lie in bed.
Yeah.
They don't want to get up. So what is it that you need to be able to do that's going to get you out of bed? It's prepare the day before. So for me, I know that my alarm goes off at 5:50 every morning. My legs are swinging out of my bed. It's not lying, leaning over, turning off snooze. It's getting out. But that's because I know my shorts are literally an arm's length away that I'm going to put on because I know I'm going to be working out. My socks are there, my top's there. I'm literally getting dressed the moment I'm walking, climbing out of my bed.
Love that, yeah.
So it's about preparation, creating the environment for you to be able to succeed in what you want to be able to do. But again, setting your intention. You're not going to wake up in the morning and think, I want to get up now. No, you've got to have that plan the night before.
Yeah.
What is it that you want to do?
Yeah.
Again, the way you make that plan the night before is to have that space in your head to be able to create that plan. So for these people that are on their phones until the moment they go to sleep, guess what? They don't have that plan for first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Unless they've got a job to go to or unless they've got to do something. But effectively, you need that wind down time so that you're able to prepare and plan for the next day.
And you make a great point. And I think if you kind of follow people that are successful in business, the same bit of advice will be given about planning the night before so you can hit the ground running. Yeah. Otherwise, what you end up doing is just reacting to life.
Of course. I mean, that's just natural for everybody, isn't it? It's going to be natural for just to react to everything. You're reacting to that alarm going off in the morning. Oh, I'll put it on snooze. And then you're reacting to waking up late. You're reacting because you're running around trying to catch the bus or the tube. It's just reaction. And then you're turning up to work late. You're reacting to something that you should have done earlier in the morning or later the day before or something. So, it's so common. So
I personally like a bit of meditation. And otherwise known as just stopping and breathing. Yeah. And it's really worked for me. What your thoughts on meditation? What are your thoughts on stopping and breathing for a minute?
Purposeful pauses, I like to call them. I do it quite regularly myself. Like I said to you, if you're not quietening your mind down, you're not allowing it the time or space to come up with other things. You can't be creative, especially if you're in a business. If you're running a business, you're an entrepreneur. A lot of my clients are. If you're not switching off, you don't create that space in your mind for creativity or innovation. And if you're not creative or innovative, guess what? Your business is going to die. So I think it's very important that you're able to switch off. And whether that's through a strict mindfulness practice, where you're meditating 30 minutes, an hour a day or whatever, or whether it's just pausing. And that could be, I love ironing. I iron my son's uniform.
You love ironing?
Yeah.
Make a note, Mitch.
And the reason, it's my time. It's the time I just switch off. I might actually stick on my headphones and just listen to some music, but it's my time. I know I'm switched off from the rest of the world. I'm just doing something that's monotonous, but actually it's quite relaxing and soothing. I've got a pattern to doing the shirts. You've got that routine, and it's just the process that you follow, and it just quietens the mind.
I think that's interesting. I think that's certainly something I've heard a number of times, that meditation, as the word has almost been hijacked, but actually in its truest form, everything is a meditation. Ironing, walking, it's about focusing on one thing at a time, right?
It's being present. It's about focusing on the activity that you are doing at that moment in time. Too often our minds are wandering.
Yeah.
Too often we've got an intention to go out for a walk, but how many of us actually sit there scrolling on the phone as we're walking in nature?
Yeah.
It happens all the time. You see it. You see people walking around in parks. Actually, they're just on their phones.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what their intentions are. Maybe just to get out, get some fresh air, and do some emails while they're walking. But it's about having. If you want to be mindful, it's about paying attention to what you're doing and give it that deliberate attention.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. So I've really enjoyed being your friend for the last I don't know how long, 10 years is it? How long have
I would say 9 years. I would say at least
years.
Yeah.
We were one of the first partners at Exclusively, and obviously we've got our event going on tonight.
Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to that. That'll be fun.
Here's the thing. I think the reason it's fun, this goes down to success and everything, it's the people that you hang around with. It's the environment you create for yourself. And I think as part of Exclusively, the people that are there, they're just great people to be around. Yeah. And actually, I was talking to you earlier, being a coach over the last 9 to 10 years, I've learned more than I ever did in my career. And what I mean by learn more, I learned more about financial education. I learned about investing. I learned about, personal growth, health. I learned that through the people I met through groups such as Exclusively. Yeah. I think that's so key.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I've had some wonderful conversations with some of the partners in the group. I met a couple of people in the last couple of months. Nicole,
yes,
she's absolutely incredible.
Wonderful.
Got a bit of tennis elbow going on at the moment, and she gave me some exercises to work through. And then I met another lady who's just joined as a partner, Yonit. I don't know if you've met Yonit.
No.
But you must meet Yonit.
Okay.
Yonit's fab. And so my wife and I have both joined groups that she runs.
Okay.
It's a bit woo-woo.
Okay.
It's a bit woo-woo, but it's cool. It's about energy, and it's about...
So this is my challenge to myself, is to get involved a little bit more woo-woo stuff, because I'm such a scientist. I'm such a scientist that I understand it's there, and I understand that it works for people, but I haven't been able to face it myself yet. Yeah. Maybe it's just about letting go at some point.
I think you're right. And we were talking, Lou and I, on a walk the other day. We've known each other for 10 years, and obviously we're newly married. And we'll sort of try to work out why we're so close. We are really, really close. And I think it's because we allow each other to have sort of woo-woo moments where you can kind of hear something, have a conversation, go and see somebody, come up with something really off the wall, have a conversation about it. And at the end of it, it might be that we both work out that it's nonsense, but it doesn't matter. There's no judging going on.
Yeah.
It's just two people having a conversation about anything, really.
Yeah. No, trying it out.
And that's about friendship, isn't it? It's about trusting that other person to be able to have a conversation about the woo-woo stuff.
No, exactly. And to be honest, I'm being a coach, I'm never one to judge anybody's actions. For me, it's everybody's individual. Different things work for different people. It's like people say to me, "Oh, what coaching model do I use?" I don't. Everybody's individual, so everybody I coach will have a different style to it. So it's the same with the woo-woo stuff. It's different things work for different people. I remember, I give an example of my wife actually. She performs. So she sings on stage. I remember one of the first times she was going to do it. She was struggling with confidence, really scared to get on stage. And as a coach, I couldn't help her. However, I knew a lady who was also a coach, but more into the woo-woo stuff, let's say. And I thought, well, my wife will probably appreciate that more. And it did, and it worked brilliant. And, she had a few sessions and it was fantastic, and it gave her all the confidence she needed. But that's understanding that, I'm not going to judge because I know what I do is not going to work, but what somebody else will.
Yeah, it's pretty far-reaching, isn't it? Once you get into this stuff. Remember, the first ever book I read was Celestine Prophecy.
I love that book.
It's a great book,
It's
isn't
brilliant.
It was the first one. Somebody handed it to me and said, "You've got to read this book," and I couldn't put it down. And then I read it again, and it was just wow. And then everybody I met after that point, I was sort of handing them a copy. It's just brilliant, isn't it?
That is the book I recommend to so many people. I mean, I bump into people all the time, and inevitably when I bump into people, we have conversations. At the end of the conversation, as we said at the beginning, that they always turn around and say, "Oh, I feel so energized, I'm motivated by you."
Yeah.
And I said to them, "Look, we probably met for a reason." And then I bring up this book. The premise, for those listening that don't understand, is the premise is that we meet people in our lives for a reason. Sometimes we just don't stop long enough. We could just bump into somebody on the pavement, but there was a reason for it, but we didn't stop long enough to figure it out. And this book kind of goes into that. And it's like an Indiana Jones
brilliant, isn't
book,
it?
The guy chasing around South America for a scroll. But
we should take a weekend in Peru together.
I know, it'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? but I love it. And this is something I've been very conscious of, is to, when I do meet people, to try, like I said, I think this is where it comes from. What value can I provide to this person?
Yeah.
It's never the other way. It's not how's this person going to be useful to me. It's how can I be useful to this person?
Yeah. And whenever I watch you going along to some of these exclusively events, and you're always, it seems to me as if you've always kind of got a gift for somebody, or you've always got a question about what it is that they told you last time, or you're incredibly thoughtful. I've got to tell you.
Oh, thank you.
You're a really thoughtful, genuine person, and I think that's why you are so good at what it is you do, because you genuinely care about people.
I think and I don't know if that's something that's just developed over years. Like you alluded to that, I'm always genuinely happy. And you also ask, what can people do? And I think it's deliberate practice. I choose to be that way. We all can choose how we want to lead our lives. I mean, like I said to you, I've got plenty of crap stuff I have to deal with in life. I could sit there defeated, or I could do something about it. It's in my hands. And I was watching a YouTube video yesterday. I'll tell you how it's related, but they were saying how villains and superheroes are the same. Right. What we mean by that is that every villain or superhero is kind of orphaned, or they're on their own some way. Yeah. And they've always come from something that's bad. The villain may have a scar or something. The superheroes have to overcome something. But it's how they chose to deal with that. The villain chose to basically said, the world did this to me, I'm going to do this back to you. Whereas the superhero says, okay, the world did this to me, but do you know what? I'm going to show you how it can be better. So it's how we choose to look at things.
Yeah, love that. Another big subject that that I know that I'm sure that me and you have had a conversation about on a previous occasion is gratitude, and about how important gratitude is. I remember just a quick story about my mum, actually, terrible eyes, and at one point went into to have an operation on her eyes, and she came out, and I remember her saying to me, "Oh, I can actually see the berries on the trees." Being completely grateful for the fact that she could see. And I think that as human beings, I think we've lost that ability to be grateful every day for the things that if they were taken away, my God, you'd be grateful, right? Yet you don't give a second thought to the fact that we can communicate, we can hear, we can speak, we have our health. All of these things, I think, on a daily basis, if you was just to write down 10, 20 things that if were taken away from you, you would be so grateful to have, and you started your day with that gratitude list, and you felt that heartfelt gratitude, goodness, it would change your world, right?
It's like what we were talking about earlier, we're of a certain age now where people around us start getting ill or getting sick, and you think to yourself, oh God, I'm glad I've got my health. And I genuinely think that sometimes that, wow, I'm glad to have this, or glad I got a roof over my head, glad I can get food. And the more you realise, actually, especially when you've got teenage kids and you have to keep telling them how grateful they should be, it reminds you how grateful I am that I can actually, one, provide, but have things for myself. So important.
Brilliant. Well, listen, I'd like to finish by saying how grateful I am to have you on to do a podcast with, because you're one of my heroes, but I just didn't want to tell you at the beginning. No, you're a great guy. I really do think a lot of you, and I'm really proud to be your friend. So.
Thank you. Well, it's likewise, thank you for having me on. I genuinely love to talk about the topics that I talk about, because it actually comes from the heart. I want to help people.
Yeah.
And if anybody's listening that might have taken a snippet away from this, what either of us have said, actually, it's a job done, I think. So thank you.
Well done. Excellent. Thank you, Rakish.
Take care.